No, you sound great, and we're live now. I'm just gonna hit the record button. Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have with us Gull Khan. She's international speaker. She's a podcaster, a barrister, attorney of law in New York, a solicitor, intuitive life coach, EFT expert, energy healer, money mindset expert, and a mother. So I'm so grateful to have you on the show, Gull. It's so exciting to learn about all that you do, because a first question would be, is that with all these things that you do, right? Like, how do you manage it? I know your mindset is on fire, but how do you go about managing all those roles?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you, Chai, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here. I think my primary role at the moment is I'm not practicing as a lawyer at the moment, so that's one thing. I am qualified in 3 jurisdictions, but I'm not working at present in any. I am looking to go back in the field, but more as a business owner. I am not necessarily to practice law. I'm an entrepreneur now, so I'm likely to own a law firm rather than work in one. You couldn't catch me behind a law desk. If you paid me $1 million, I wouldn't be able to do that. Yes. But I'm an entrepreneur and I have multiple businesses. But I always say I'm a full-time mom and a part-time business owner, because my life revolves around my 2 kids and my 2 cats, by the way. So they take up, I think, most of my brain capacity and most of my time. Everything I do has to fit around their timetable, because they're not that young now. I've got this 15-year-old and 11-year-old, but they do occupy a lot of my mind space. And the reason why I say this and why this is so important is everything I've achieved financially in my business up until now over the last 6 years, since my divorce, has been for my kids. My motivation was my kids. And up until recently, that's all it was. Make sure the food was there, because we used to a certain lifestyle. They were in private schools. We had to pull them out because of various things. Oh. So my goal was to put them back in I make sure I not only do have fees for the school, but also for the college, for university fees as well. And if they're doing the masters, for that too. And also for make sure they have the first, I don't want them to be in debt to be able to buy the first house. So everything I thought about had nothing to do with what I wanted. It was what I could create for my children, my 2 kids. That's it. And obviously the 2 cats now as well, which are not very financially demanding actually, but they're still in there. And so I say I've created a life mine, and alhamdulillah, it's a very, very blessed one. It's something that is way beyond what I started off to. My children, I've created it now. But what my initial ambitions was, it's far exceeded that, but the motivation has been my 2 kids. So I'm still primarily a mom first, and then a business owner. And I'm a very good business owner, but I do manage my time. And I've created the businesses which allows me to work around my kids. For example, I work from home. I work online mostly, so I'm able to work different time zones. I have clients in Australia, in America, in Canada, and Middle East. But that means I'm able to work according to what my kids need. Does that make sense? So this is how I manage. Yes. And so I think you can do anything as long as you have your priorities right. And now, for example, we just had Ramadan, and my priority was obviously, fasting, because I was fasting, and the last 10 days are very precious for us. So I took a backseat role again. So I was able to pray at night and do all my ibadah and do everything else the way I wanted to. Oh, sorry about that. My time is put off. And so I'm able to create this life because I know my priorities. If you know what you want and you have a good enough why, you find a way. That's my motto. There's always a way, but you have to know what you want, and you need to have a solid why. If you don't have a solid why, you will crumble under the obstacles. And obviously, as entrepreneurs, we know we're going to come across various obstacles. You will crumble under them if your why is not big enough. And up until now, my why has been my kids, and it's got me where I am.
Yeah, it's a beautiful why. It's the most powerful emotion, love, right? And especially that kind of love. And to bring that into play into your business, you kind of formulate it with automation. I'm sure that you're using automation, delegations, right? Team. And once you have that mindset, it just feels like I don't like to use this word, but it just feel, it doesn't feel like magic, but it you feel that everything falls into a puzzle very nicely when you're set at something. You have a powerful why. You take steps, you take actions, you get those inspired actions, and you find ways, and you delegate, and you set up a system that allows you to kind of create that growth that you have seen. And you're multimillionaire, you're doing great, and the coaching business that you have is phenomenal. To manage all those clients, right, to manage that business, it's it definitely there's a huge need for mindset training in this.
That's what I specialize in. So I work with mindset anyway. And I think from my own experience and working with so many over 2,000 coaches, CEOs, and consultants now, we calculated that recently for marketing purposes. I went ahead and I thought, oh my goodness, I've worked with over 2,000 people so far, either in one-to-one or in group capacity. And what I found is that you have to have, the strategy. Most people have the right strategies. Honestly, if one person can make it work, everybody can make it work. The difference between somebody, succeeding with Facebook ads, or somebody succeeding with YouTube ads, or somebody succeeding with an events company, or somebody succeeding with the law firm, the difference between successful companies and those who are not is usually the CEOs or the owner's mindset. Mindset is anywhere from 80 to 95%, and strategy is 20 to, usually about 5%.
Yes.
And say 5% tends to be this, from my experience, 5% is strategy, 95% is mindset, because we get in our own way. And one of the things that I've been talking about recently, and I'll give my own example, because I always share my own examples. I always say I'm a work in progress. I work on myself more than I work on anybody else. And the reason why the law firm came into a picture for me again was I hate the idea of being in a law firm. I just hate it. And even though I was very good at it, I did it for so long. This is where it came in. Okay, so why do I hate it? I don't hate the business structure, it's a business. Why do I don't want to be in it? Okay, so what if I didn't have to work in it? Oh, okay, then it would be fun to run like another business. I know the ins and outs. I know what to do with it. I can hire people to do the actual work. Okay, so what if you could do that? What if you could create another additional income stream by having this? Okay, all right. So, and it's just a number of questions. What if you couldn't fail? So what if you couldn't fail? What's this? What if you couldn't fail? What would you need? What if you couldn't fail? What would be the next step? And by asking that question, what is it that you don't like? Okay, so how can we fix that? And what if you couldn't fail? What would happen? By asking myself these serious questions, it led me to the conclusion, well, I can easily run a very successful law firm and take the average law firm, which is currently running at 10 to 15% profit margin, to 20 to 30% profit margin, literally double the profit margin, because of my business acumen now that I've accumulated over a number of failed businesses, by the way, like I have to add, right? Yes. But I can do that. And that's where I came from. But that's a mindset thing, right? I was in my own way. I was thinking, yeah, I can do this. I am okay with here. I'm okay in the digital space. I don't want to go in the brick and mortar business anymore. Even that idea that why does a law firm need to be a brick and mortar business? It can be an online space as well. It's, again, a mindset thing, right? And so a lot of the things I questioned myself were my own limitations, my own mindset. Okay, if this can't work or this couldn't work. And I questioned myself, and I came up with a different answer, which gave me a different conclusion, which gives me a different result, right?
Yeah, it's definitely so true. And Eid Mubarak, by the way. Sorry, I know you were talking about that. It was I had a rough month in April. I was just I don't know if I caught COVID, but I'm pretty sure I did. But it was in and out. Yeah. So yeah. So I'm brand new now, back in action. But I wanted to mention about gratitude. So, this mindset thing is so huge. And when you actually approach someone and you point it out and you mention that where the issues are, a lot of people kind of push back because, everyone feels like they're on the right track when it comes to mindset. So my mindset is good. Of course, my parents did a great job and everything. And then when you start pointing out by asking questions, right, and they start thinking about those questions, they realize it is mindset, right? So when they get into mindset, in the training, what is your point of view on gratitude and how important it is to be habitually grateful, ongoing when operating a business?
Oh, what a great question. Oh, I love this question. So from my perspective, gratitude goes in hand with forgiveness. Let me point that out.
Yes.
And the very first module that I take my clients through in my Master Millionaire Mindset Mastermind, the very first module is called forgiveness. It's called Forgiveness is a Path to Prosperity. And I truly, truly believe it. And by the way, anything I teach, I've embodied. There's nothing that I would do or somebody else would do that I haven't done myself. And I share my personal stories with this with my ex, because I caught him red-handed. And in our Muslim culture, men are able to have multiple wives. So my ex said to me, literally to my face, "I don't want to leave you too." He wanted to keep me too, but anyway, another story for another time. So the trauma that the man put me through was horrendous, and I've shared it in my book as well, Laws of Money. Because he's a narcissist and what trauma he put me through. I can now talk about it, and I talk about it with a tongue in cheek, and I laugh about it. Literally, the way I caught him is more like something out of Hollywood or Bollywood movie. And
really?
It literally was. It was literally
oh my God.
Hollywood movie. It's hilarious now, but at the time it wasn't. And I cried continuously because I'm have a very strong relationship with divine energy. I remember at the Hajj, every single night I was crying, and I was crying, and I went through this awful trauma. Now, the reason why I share this is I went through this awful trauma with this individual, and then I reassessed my life and all the abuse that I suffered over the course of our marriage, and everything that I went through, including the final straw was the financial card, because he basically said to me, if I didn't accept his girl, I would get no money. So I literally had no money. The kids were pulled out of the private school. I had no money. All I had was £137 and 14 pence, which is about $150 coming to me every 4 weeks. So being put in that situation where I didn't have money for my food for my kids, his kids. I didn't have the money for the food, not anything else. And any of my other properties, because we're going through a divorce, I wasn't able to touch. So I wasn't able to touch any of my property. I wasn't able to touch anything I had. And the government wouldn't give me support either, because on paper I'm rich because of my property. And so I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Now, even though I'm sharing this, not to say, what I went through, but to explain the trauma this man put me through, even the end of it. Yet I very quickly, very rapidly, within the space of 3 to 4 months, was able to forgive him completely, but forgive him from the bottom of my heart, to the level where I was wishing him and his girlfriend, whoever it was, well, and I was sending love and blessings. And my father even asked me, may he rest in peace, now he's passed away as well. My father asked, how are you able to forgive him so quickly? And I remember telling him, Dad, if I don't forgive him, I can't move on, and I can't go and do what I need to do, because I understood the idea. If I stay in that victim mode, if I stay in that awful state, and then that means that I'm in low vibration, I cannot attract the opportunities and abundance to myself that I needed to. And so the transformation that happened in my life was quite rapid, but it explains why. Because the first thing I did was forgive him, and forgive myself for allowing myself to get in there, forgive divine energy for putting me in that situation, because I was like the pious, really good wife. How the hell could this happen to me, etc. I got rid of all of that, forgave everyone. Then the next step was gratitude. We can't get into a grateful state until we forgive ourselves and divine energy and everyone those around us. So the first step is to forgive everyone and everyone, including ourselves, for whatever's happened. Second step is understanding everything's happening for you, not to you. And this is something that I think comes, for me, was very easy to understand, because I grew up with it from my mum. From a young age, I knew everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does it for you. There's a plan, there's a greater plan, and God never does anything, or you call it universal energy. The universe never does anything to you that's harmful to you. It's for your growth, for your development, for your betterment. It's always for you, not against you, which means all the pain that I went through, everything that came through me, was done because of Allah's permission, was done with divine energy's permission, which means if Allah is always with me, and if I'm a good person, no bad things can happen to me. It means it's for my betterment. It's developing my character. It's shaping me who I am, and it's putting me through a series of trials and tribulations to build that character, to be the person who I am right now, to be able to run those multi-million pound businesses. I wouldn't be able to run those if I didn't have the mental capacity or the character to be able to handle the kind of stress that I handle nowadays. That situation developed me. So the first step is always forgiveness. Forgive everyone and everyone that's done anything ever to you. It's every single person in your life has been your teacher, good, bad, or ugly, doesn't matter who they are. They can give you happy memories, sad memories, but they're your teachers. You learn something from everyone. And secondly, you need to forgive yourself. We're easy to forgive other people. We have hard time forgiving ourselves. Why didn't I see the signs? Why did I make the business mistake? Why did I do this silly things? Why did I marry this guy? Why did I marry this woman? Why did I have this business partner? Etc. etc. We are our own biggest critics. We can't forgive ourselves. The third step is, if we believe in God, how could God do this to me? You know, if I'm a stupid person, if I'm honest, how could God let this happen to me? God loves me, but how could God love me if God could let this happen to me? I could have said that. Like, if I'm such a pious woman and whatever else, and I've been X, Y, Z, how could God let this man treat me in this way? Because I didn't even know I was being abused until I came out of the situation. How could Allah allow this person to treat me in such a horrible way for so long, and me be blind to it? How could Allah do it? Now, once I forgave Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it, when I forgave Divine Sympathy for it, I understood, no, God was building me. Sometimes God makes to break you out completely before you be, the rise of the phoenix. You have to completely disassemble every aspect of yourself to re-emerge as a stronger, newer, more bolder version of yourself. I think that's what happened to me over the last 6 years. And can you see the gratitude I have for Divine Energy? I cannot be angry, upset with myself or Divine Energy, because everything that happened made me who I am. And because of who I am, I'm able to have the kind of life and create and make the kind of impact in the world the way I'm able to do. Without this experience, I wouldn't be able to do it. Can you see that both forgiveness and gratitude go hand in hand? They're the two sides of the same coin. And without it, I think gratitude is empty. Without forgiveness, gratitude becomes empty words. You say it, you don't feel it. When you truly internalize this idea, nothing's happening to me, everything's happening for me, you feel grateful for even the trials and tribulations and the really down, awful times. And let's be honest, Shahid, we're going to have plenty of those. We all do. Every single person has those. So when you start accepting this, then in your down moments, in your low moments, you will rely on faith and lean into faith rather than go into fear and victim mode. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. It's the resistance that causes the lower frequency, right? So it's when we resist, that resistance is our enemy, when we kind of accept things for what they are. And it's such a beautiful design, and we're here for a purpose, and we find it by calming ourselves, right? And being grateful for whatever we do have. Like you mentioned, that's such a great way to teach someone, because you're telling them subconsciously, you're making them realize through a process, I'm sure, right? So you're making realize that everything that's happening is happening for me, not to me. Everything that's happening is happening for me, not to me, right? So if that becomes a paradigm, if that becomes a belief system within, if that's something that they live by, then they would be automatically grateful, meaning habitually grateful in any kind of situation. Is that the experience that you get from your clients?
I do. I think this is why module 1 is the hardest. And so the first 3 modules, module 1 is forgiveness, and module 2 is earliest money paradigm mom story, and module 3 is earliest money paradigm.
I'm sorry, can you repeat number 2 again?
So module 2 is earliest money paradigm mom story, and module 3 is earliest money paradigm dad story. These 3 modules together combined, I think, do that 60 to 70% of the mindset shift that comes to my clients, because these are such core wounds that people have. First of all, we are so angry with everyone, from a kindergarten teacher to our grandma, to our dad, to our siblings, to cousins, to goodness, who else? And I'm so pedantic when it comes to this. I'll make them make a list of every single person that comes to them, comes to mind, and list out all the things they're angry at. And it becomes a bit tedious, but it's important, because sometimes, things that you haven't thought about, for example, when you're a 10-year-old and your older brother pushed you or, humiliated you in front of your friends, that can leave a trauma. And then you have to forgive your brother for doing that, so that you're able to clear the energy between you two and you're able to move ahead. If you don't, that little niggly thoughts in the back of your mind, and your brother would trigger you, and you won't even realize why your brother is triggering you, right? So we need to stop those niggly triggers. So I'm very, very clear about it. Module 1 is it's a big module. We go and clear everything we can. Sometimes things are in the subconscious mind and they're under different layers because we're multidimensional beings. So we do the one layer, and then I ask them to, go through the entire, it used to be 10, now it's 12 modules, go through the entire syllabus and then come back and do a second round. What happens with the second round is you've done the first time around, you've done the first layer. By going through the entire syllabus, and then you really come back and do module 1 again, you realize a new things have come out, or a new memory has come to the surface, or a new person has come to light, or something that you didn't pay much attention to is now come to it. And what I find is abuse, physical, sexual, verbal, or mental abuse is usually, trapped in our subconscious mind. Very few people are even aware of the mental abuse, and a lot of people actually forget the sexual abuse. And when you do a second layer, that's when these memories can come to surface. Even if the full-blown experience isn't there because our mind was too young to comprehend what was going on, the memories and the names and the feelings begin to come to the surface, and we're able to clear those. And those are major, major traumas. Now, you wouldn't think that abuse at a younger age would impact your money. And I can tell you that's the number one cause for people who are able to make money but cannot keep money. Making money is not that difficult, to be honest, but keeping it is. And most people don't have difficulty making money, they have difficulty keeping and growing money. And the number one cause that I find tends to be abuse. And it's usually in between the ages of 0 to 7, sometimes during our teens. But this all comes to light when you start doing this forgiveness work, because now here's the tough part. If you've been physically or sexually, verbally, or especially sexually abused, I'm going to make you forgive that perpetrator. And that's a tough one. But now, reason why I ask you to forgive, because you need to forgive to be able to disconnect from that experience.
It's mandatory.
Yeah. And you're able to forgive. Now, here's the thing. If you are a religious being, doesn't matter if you're Christian, Jew, or Muslim, if you are a religious being, then you believe, well, how can God allow a 6-year-old to be sexually abused by this woman or that man, right? Yeah. This is where you have to understand that there must be a higher plan. There must be a reason. You have to forgive divine source energy as well as yourself, your 6-year version of yourself. Because remember, you have shame attached to this as well. Forgive yourself to get rid of the shame, and you forgive the perpetrator. Now, you don't forgive the perpetrators. You're not condoning their actions. You're forgiving their higher self. I'll go into detail how to do this, but when you hear about it, most people find it shocking. Like, how can you? But you can't move on unless you do. And then it's a step further from there, because then you have to come into the gratitude of not the act, but you still have to be grateful for divine energy, because everything that happened to you has made you, shaped you who you are. So even that heinous act is part of the divine plan, and therefore you still have to be grateful for divine energy. Can you see the extent of gratitude in my practice and the way we come to it? Not superficially, not lip service, but genuinely, to the point where you feel like, I know that was hard, I know that's traumatic, but I know God has a better plan for me, and I love God for it. Can you see that?
It's a deep work, right? And all of this mindset is a lot of deep work. And for me, the reason why I asked about gratitude is probably the number one thing in my world and whoever I work with. Like, the gratitude is such a powerful sense or feeling that you have, that you do experience really, really amazing results when you remain grateful for whatever your experience, whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're doing. And the nice thing is that over time, the good starts appearing more often.
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, that's the law of vibration, isn't it? So people understand, well, people know about the law of attraction, but in essence, law of attraction is the name. The underlying law underneath it is law of vibration. So if you are grateful, you're in the vibration of gratitude, which is much higher vibration than sad, apathy, anger, and so forth. It's it's even above love, right? So gratitude's vibration is even above love. So when you're in that state of gratitude, you have nothing but love for everything and everyone around you. And if you're vibrating from that frequency, you cannot help but attract more things to be grateful for. Now, keep this in mind. This isn't a new concept. This is the exact same thing has been said in the Bible, in the Old Testament, in the New Testament. And in the Quran, time and time again in the Quran, that God comes to you God is to you how you are, and if you are grateful, God gives you more thing to be grateful. God's with people who have sabr, which is patience, and who are grateful. So the more grateful you are, you can't be grateful without having sabr, basically. You have to have patience
Yes.
in order to be grateful. But if you are, God rewards you. And it's said multiple times in all of these religious texts that, this idea is a novelty. It's not a new idea from the law of attraction, the new age thinking. It's just being presented in a new way that people are becoming
just
more
a new
familiar
way, making it a lifestyle thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and even in the Quran, like when the main point that I think about and I know is that it says, be grateful and I will increase you. Right.
Exactly.
So that
exactly. That's exactly the definition of the law of vibration, which is the law of attraction.
Yeah.
If you are grateful, we'll have more reasons to be grateful for. Simple.
Yeah.
But people forget it. And I tell you, even the religious people in be it any, by the way, I'm not picking any particular religion. I can say more about mine because I am practicing. But it doesn't matter which religious segment you pick. Unfortunately, people are quick to use, God's going to punish you, God's going to do this for you, and life is a test, and all of those the malarkey. Whereas if you start thinking that way, if you have a mindset life is a test, guess what you're expecting? You're always expecting things to go wrong. You're always expecting things to be, not going in your favor, and for this malicious, awful God looking at you, you're not good enough. I'm going to test you. That's awful, right?
Yes, awful.
Instead of thinking, okay, in our life, we're going to have trials and tribulations. Expect those. Not that life is a test. Life has some elements of trial and tribulations. One, to make up for a betterment. Two, if you're religious, to say, okay, for you to deserve, to show your faith to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or divine energy, and to deserve heaven, whichever your religious belief. I'm just generally. But the idea of these trial tribulations is not for you to have heaven in the end. It's to develop you as a person here. Pick any person up who has achieved anything, and Elon Musk comes to mind. I love him because he's so quirky. He's my kind of person.
Yeah, me too.
If you have a look at his life, it wasn't easy. He's worked his way up, from doing minimum day wage and whatever, coming to America, or Canada by himself, and then going off to America and building and building and building and building. And every time risking, he's a risk taker. He takes risk. His companies were almost bankrupt before they became billion dollar companies. So they were almost on the verge of bankruptcy. So it's that element that people don't realize. Every single person who's successful has a story to tell, or number of stories to tell, which has loads of failures attached to it.
Yes.
People see me in business.
Same here.
Number of failed businesses. That's the reason why I've gained the experience that I have. I know what not to do, right? But instead of being ungrateful for them and seeing how much money I lost in those businesses, now I've made, I think 5 times as much money from as much as I've lost. But then that experience allowed me to make it, but also not just make it in terms of business experience, it's that character building. I keep coming back to that, who you are as a person. Somebody can take all my wealth away today, but they can't take away my character. This is the reason why I shared, Sir Richard Branson. You can take away all his money, and within a couple of years, he'll be back at the top. Why? Because you cannot take away his character, who he is, his mindset.
You can strip away all the wealth from the right type of mindset. They'll bring over twice as much.
Yeah.
It's that powerful, right? And life without challenges, can you just even imagine how life would be if it was just like perfect? It would be I just even think about it sometimes. I would say, what the heck? Like, that would be so boring. But the challenge is, it brings out something that needs to come out. And if we didn't have challenges, nothing would come out. So our creativity, all the gifts that we have been given, right? Reason, imagination, intuition, memory, right? Intuition, all these, perception, they are gifted because we have that control to make our experience here better and deal with those challenges as they come. Like you said, is being done for me, not to me. And that's the most powerful thing that in this interview that I heard. So it's amazing. My next question I wanted to ask you about calmness. For me, calmness is a huge component to this whole thing. Can you speak about calmness and how important it is for the growth of a business?
Oh, I love that. I mean, I literally did a podcast on that. I think this last Monday gone, or Tuesday, because Monday was Eid, so I didn't do it. So and I talk about that. Pause, and you have to pause, reflect, and then reassess where you are. So calmness comes in 2 points. One, when you are doing an act and things are not going your way, you have to be calm. That okay. If you're not calm, that means you're letting the outside world impact your internal world. Whereas when you're a creative being, when you are creating your life, a business, a life, whatever you are, you have to create from the inside out, which means you have to be calm from the inside, even though there's chaos outside. So the calmness is that way. So that's the first element of calmness that most people talk about. The other one, which is not looked upon as much, which I talk about now because it's more relevant to me, and especially in the last 10 days when I was doing a lot of ibadah, I began to question certain things. So calmness also comes from realizing your life purpose. So as I mentioned in the beginning, my first goal was to create this financial abundance. Not because, by the way, the only thing I like for materialistically is cars. I'm a big fan of cars and Tesla and Bentley, you know it. I'm a big yeah, I love cars. But apart from that, I'm not, gold.
Which cars do you have?
I've only got the one at the moment, which is a Mercedes E300 hybrid, but it's going to be Tesla, and we're going to get Tesla and a Bentley. So those two on my list, but I have to hit financial targets before we do that. Yes. But anyway, coming back to this point, apart from those cars, which I will have, by the way, a string of them by the time I reach my targets, I have no other desires, and I can live without those cars too. Like they don't motivate me. I don't have to go and do the kind of work I do to be able to get there. The kind of life I want for my kids, I already have. The kind of the where I am at the moment is more than enough to be able to give my kids the kind of life I wanted. I've never thought I'm going to leave my kids billions, because that's never been my intention, because I want them to make their own money. So this question came to my mind quite a lot, because I'm very, very ambitious and I don't understand why. And I kept thinking, why do I have this thing? Why do I want this? I'm not into my fame. I'm not into the power hungry thing. If anything, I'd rather be in the background. I'd rather not be seen. I'm seen because it needs to be done, but it's not because I need it. It's not because I crave it. So I started doing a lot of meditation. So after the Tahajjud time, what I would do is I read Isha, do lots of prayers, and then I would read the Tahajjud, and then I would go into meditative states. I would meditate straight after the Tahajjud. And after making the word, I'll meditate. So between reading Tahajjud and Fajr time, having Sahur, it was literally, I would have half an hour, 45 minutes, do deep meditation work, which is, by the way, has been the best time ever to do meditation. So I went to meditative state, and I kept asking for guidance. Why? And I had the one question. Now I was very calm. So when you're meditating, you have to really slow yourself down, calm down. I went with that calmness to divine energy to ask for guidance. Why do I have this desire? Why do I want it? I don't need to spend the money. Why am I asking for it? Why am I going for it? I couldn't figure out for the life of me. I knew that there was a higher purpose. During one of these meditative states, I was given the full guidance as to what. I know exactly what I need to do, exactly why I want to do it, and exactly where I'm going to go. And fully being aware that my life and my time on the planet, because remember, we all have a finite time. I probably have another 30, 40 years max. That's it, right? Probably the half of life left. So in that time, this is why I'm ambitious. This is what needs to be done. And this is it. That clear path was given to me, but it could not be given to me without the calmness. So you had to have calmness two ways. One, to initially create a life, and two, secondly, working out what it is you want to do. Because once you're at a particular, a point where food, shelter, car, money, kids taken care of, what do you want next? And what do you do next? And you lose your motivation at times. So calmness comes both ways. Does that make sense? Working out your purpose, first, creating a life, and secondly, which is probably the more important one, working out what is your life purpose.
And we all have a purpose. And that frustration comes. Yeah. And the frustrating part is when people just don't know what that purpose is, and they keep chasing, forcing, and it adds all that frustration, the depression, all that stuff. But if you kind of take a step back, you work on your mindset, you calm your mind, you start becoming more present in the present moment, start enjoying everything, things that you would just not even care for before, you you just enjoy them, right? Even objects. And doing that more and more often, you find yourself becoming more calmer, right? The mind starts relaxing. And then with that calmness, you're allowing that spiritual thoughts, and spiritual thoughts are in
Your
nature
intuition opens
spiritual.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just flows right through. And you
Yeah.
start, everything that I've done came to me that way. And I also, wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible. But if I was hyper active on thinking and always trying to force and through my ego and trying to figure things out and trying to push, I wouldn't allow new things to come through, because I would keep recycling what my experiences were in the past.
100%. I think a lot of the time, this second point is so important, because we think I should go for this because everybody else is going for it.
Yeah.
I should go for a
comparison.
Tesla. I started talking about Tesla before Tesla became the new sexy thing to talk about, because I fell in love with the whole concept of Tesla, the electric car.
Yes.
And obviously I like fast cars, and it was anyway, the speed is
amazing. Yeah, it's so fast.
So so you need to work out what you want, not what the society tells you should have, or what people think you should have, or what people expect you to have. And so if you start living your life from the inside out, getting in touch with yourself, calmness allows you to get in touch with your own deeper self. Now, I'm not one of those people who has, I was when I was younger, I have to say, designer shoes and designer handbags and whatever else. I'm not into that at the moment at all, or into anything else designer wise. I don't have to be. And I wear like really, clothes from, normal shops, like, and I've seen that Elon Musk does as well. People are this, and Mark Zuckerberg, they have no idea of, the interest in designer stuff. I'm very much of the thing. I'm not really fussed about what people think I wear or don't wear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not living up to anybody else's expectations. I'm living up to what I want to live up to. And if you don't have that sense of calm, you will not be in touch with your own true self. And if you don't have that, you cannot get in contact with divine energy to get you the inspiration. So everything I mentioned to you is tuning into your intuition. Intuition it doesn't come as loud noises. Everything outside you is loud noises. Intuition is small whisper, is little, feeling here and there.
It's pointers.
Yeah.
It's like pointers,
And it's little whispers, a little voice in your head, do this. I'll give you another example. Yesterday, right in the middle of the day, and I get this a lot because I'm quite in tune. In the middle of the day, we took a day. My daughter went out. We took the day off for another Eid, and we took it off as well, and just so we can just have some calmness with us family together. My daughter went out to see her friend to a movie, and it's me and my son. And middle of the day, I was let's go for a walk. No idea why. And I thought, I'm going to go for a walk. So and then even then we got out. I thought, which do we go? Left or we go right? Okay, toss coin. Okay, right. We just walked. And I'm not joking. We kind of walking and ended up at a cricket club. And I had been thinking about cricket club for both my kids, for so.
Oh, nice.
We ended up at our local cricket club. I had no idea it existed, by the way. I knew it off it. I didn't know where it was. We just ended up there by coincidence or was led there. Spoke to the people, found out, okay, and I got both my kids enrolled out of the blue. And there was no reason, but it's just that I need to go for a walk. I didn't know why, but I don't question anymore because I'm so calm.
Yes.
When I hear the little voice, I'm like, okay, let's do it. So it meant my son's like, oh, Mom, you have to change. I'm like, go and get changed. So we went out and it was a nice walk. It was a nice time spent together with my son. I obviously had an injury. He was my son was my injury. And he was, Mom, are you
who got injury? Sorry.
Oh, I had a major, quite a major accident on a recent holiday to Turkey. Yeah, the whole flesh around my knee came off, and my whole bone was exposed. But alhamdulillah. Now, here's a point of gratitude. I'll share this. I'll show you terms of gratitude. This injury happened in the last 10 seconds of this ride. My son was driving, and he drove all the way around, no issue. We were the last buggy. Everyone, there were about 30 other buggies, and I think, or more than that, 40 of them. They all went, no one had an issue. Our buggy went through this patch of sections. They're throwing foam down to have entertainment or whatever thing. Because of the wet floor, the buggy skidded. I went and smashed into the concrete wall. Had impact because they didn't have seatbelts on the buggies, and that's the reason why. I went forward, this metal thing.
You're okay now.
Yeah, I'm just telling you that the injury is so severe. It put my body into shock. I went into shock, and I became unconscious. And I was taken to hospital. I had about 20 stitches on my leg. Now, when it comes to gratitude, here's my gratitude. Not once did I think, oh my God, why did that happen? My first thought was, where's my son? Is he okay? Ayan was, alhamdulillah, unharmed. He didn't get a scratch on him.
Great.
I was the one who's injured. I'm like, okay, that's fine. The next point injury of gratitude was thank God. Because when I remember when I pulled my knee away, the metal thing on my knee, so I pulled my knee away. I remember thinking my knee's gone. I honestly thought my knee's gone. So when I came around and I realized my bone was intact, my bone didn't have any injury whatsoever. Alhamdulillah. Again, I was grateful.
That's great.
So
great.
This injury of mine, even though it's horrific and everyone sees it, I'm like, oh my God, it's so disgusting, because literally the flesh has come off, the whole bone's exposed from my knee. It is very horrific. I did not feel for a second that, oh, why did this happen to me? And poor me, and oh, it spoiled my holiday, or what happened. I was so grateful my son was safe. And my knee was safe. And I'm fine now. So just wanted it as a tangent now. So he was concerned that whether I'm able to walk enough to do the walk. But again, if you listen to inspiration, I had been thinking about this, getting them signed up to, because summer season starting now, this is a season for cricket, to join the local cricket club. And I managed to find an ideal one for both, where my daughter's friends are there and my son as well. But this happens not once, multiple times, if you listen to that intuition, which, by the way, is not kept for some people. People think, oh, I don't have that. Every single person has intuition. It's whether they listen to it or not, and whether they're in touch with it or not.
Yes. And it's so nice, because once you start getting used to them, it's very important also to appreciate them, like you mentioned, right? So when you see that pointer, and you're noticing it, and when things just fall into place, is to really take a moment and really take that in, like be grateful, like you mentioned, thank you, even for the bad, and the good. You were focused on that moment, and taking that in is so important to appreciate it, right? And we always like to ask our guests what their inner superpower is that got them to this point.
I think there's two things. One is my undividing faith in divine energy. So my whole life as existence is in my book. What I've shared with you for the last 6 years has been one experience, but since I was a baby, I've had a roller coaster life. It's been a very interesting one. It's a whole biology series can be made on it, by the way. But for those who don't know, is an Indian company who makes Indian dramas. I'm just saying that because I watch a lot of Bollywood, they could probably make a movie on my life. Yet I have always had a very, very close connection with divine energy, and been very, very had a very strong faith. That comes from my mother. I think it came from my mother, the way she's brought me up. So my faith has been one of my biggest superpowers. That doesn't matter what happens to me, I never lose faith in divine energy. I always. Good. So in our religion, say if you something happens and it brings you closer to God, it's a test from Allah. If it takes you away from God, it's a punishment. So I think I've been tested quite a bit. That's the first one. And second one is my determination, my tenacity. You put me on a treadmill with somebody else, and I remember Will Smith said this, if you put you on a treadmill with somebody else, he's either going to die in there or win. There's no way he's coming up with the other guy. That's me. So I'm not just dyslexic, I'm severely dyslexic. And I didn't know this until my first year of law degree. And I still have got 5 A levels and I got amazing grades because I worked really hard. I didn't know any better. So that work ethic that I developed as a young child has paid in dividends throughout my life. So I work 10 times harder than anyone else around me. And I'll make sure that the things which are important to me, I will get them done. Whereas somebody else can make an excuse. Like I don't make an excuse for my children. I do everything that needs to be done for them, as well as my work. I don't make excuses. I just do it. I just get on with it. Amazing. And so the superpower that I would have is 1, faith, and 2, hard work. And you combine faith with hard work, you can achieve anything. Yeah.
With calmness.
With calmness. Yes. So I don't hustle. I don't subscribe to the philosophy of someone like Gary Vee. Gary is amazing, by the way. I love him. I think he's amazing. Yeah. I just don't resonate with that philosophy. That hustle.
Effort.
Yeah. It should be action, but it should be inspired action, and it should not. It should be effortless. It should not be. It should not feel forced. Like I do a lot of hours, but it's not forced. I enjoy what I do. I love the work I do. The one thing I don't is my property business, but then I've delegated that. I've got agents to do that. Okay, so you should be able to have your life in a way that's done ease and grace. Yes, of course, you have to take action. You can't sit on a meditative mat and do affirmations all day and expect a bundle of cash to fall into your lap. But you can take inspired action. Instead of hustling and doing 80% of the work, you can do 20% and get 80% of the results.
Amazing. Perfect. I really appreciate that you took the time to come on the show. I know you mentioned real estate investments. We do have some amazing opportunities in Detroit. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but heard of the city, but heard of the actual real estate market there. You should research it. It's very incredible for cash flowing, low investment type properties, and you can grow and scale very easily. We have the whole setup like property management, everything. So it's turnkey, but you can keep adding and increasing your monthly income. That's a really, really good opportunity. I just wanted to let you know.
Oh, thank you.
And also I appreciate you coming and taking the time out and coming on the show. I know you're busy. Such amazing information in the audience. If you guys are listening, and when we publish this episode in a few months, you will see that Gull is very open to helping, right? And that's what you need. You need that guidance. You need that mentorship. You can easily do things on your own. I've done my entire life on my own. I thought I knew everything, and it was such a rough experience. So I recommend, if you're looking for advice, looking for help, reach out to Gull. All her information will be shared. You can also Google her, Gull Khan, Khan. And again, thank you so much again, and please do keep in touch. If you're ever in Toronto or anything, you can meet the family and everything. So please do keep in touch.
It'd be a pleasure. And thank you so much for having me. And just to let everybody know that I also do have my own podcast called Money Mindset with Gull Khan. So if they like what I say, come over to listen to Money Mindset with Gull Khan as well.
Perfect. Yes, please. Like, if anybody in the audience, it's all about podcast. When we love podcasts and we like listening to this information that helps us, go for it, add more people, right? And you can tell Gull has the correct direction, she has the experience. But yeah, so if go to a podcast, I'm also going to check it out. What is the name again? Sorry.
It's literally Money Mindset with Gull Khan.
Go. Perfect. Again, thank you so much and have a great day. I'm just going to stop recording and we could chat a couple seconds after. Thank you.
Thank you.